Okay, can everyone take a seat? We need to get started. We're ready to begin. Thank you. Yep. We're ready.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, I'm pleased to welcome you to the forum tonight for the Madison Borough Council. My name is Donna Gariglia. I'm a co-president of the Morristown Area League. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase the understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Conducting debates like this one is one of the ways we encourage informed and active participation in government. Your participation tonight helps us carry out our mission. We would also like to make you aware that in New Jersey there are two public questions on the ballot, the November 7th general election ballot. The questions concern the issuance of bonds to provide grants to public libraries for building equipment and expansion, and the other question, the dedication of revenue from environmental damages lawsuits to environmental projects. As a service to the voting public, the League of Women Voters of New Jersey Education Fund has prepared an analysis of each ballot question with reasons to vote either pro and con. These are complex issues, and we urge you on your way out to take a copy of each so that you can make an informed vote. Also on the table in the back, you'll find applications for vote by mail, and those are due by Tuesday, October 31st. So if you want to pick one of those up and vote by mail, make sure you mail it by the 31st. We also have, the League has a website, vote411.org, which provides a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, as well as information about all candidates up and down the ballot. If you would like to participate in any of these efforts, we welcome you to become members. The League, both men and women, are encouraged to be members, and you'll find information about our membership also on the back table. Many of you have already filled out the white cards. If you have more questions, just get a card, hold it up, and one of the League volunteers will come and bring it up to the moderator. The League of Women Voters never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or of footage from the debate in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League. As a courtesy to the candidates, would everybody please now make sure that your cell phones are off and any other electronic devices, and please refrain from taking photographs or video during the debate. At this time, I would like to bring up our moderator, Susan Ferris. Per our League practice, she is not from our voting district. Susan is a League-trained moderator and a co-president of the League of Women Voters of Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and Summit. She will now introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, does everyone, before I get started, does anyone need a note card? Are you all set? Okay. So here's how this is going to work tonight. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. We're going to then start to review questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer a question, and then each candidate will have a 30-second rebuttal time. There's a timekeeper that sits in the front that keeps track of the time. At the end of this, which should last for about an hour, there'll be a 2-minute opportunity for closings by each of the candidates. We are going to go in the order that I have. The order is based on little Post-its that they pick, little cards, so it's all random. So, for opening statement, we will start with Carmela.
Good evening. I am Carmela Vitale, and I currently serve on the Madison Borough Council as council president, and I'm running for re-election.
Can everyone hear her?
No?
Okay.
You can hear? Okay. First, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this forum together. It's an important part of a campaign, and we appreciate their time and effort, so thank you. Madison is a great town, and I've been privileged to serve the community on many boards, committees, as well as Borough Council over the years. Serving the residents has given me insight to what I feel is necessary for this town to remain great. Do we have more work to do? Absolutely. But I'm hopeful that the new developments going up around us will attract new, involved citizens who will shop in Madison, who will eat at our restaurants, and become involved. I'm hopeful that we will continue to hold the line on tax increases while continuing to pursue capital improvements. Moving forward, we need to investigate new innovations in self-generation, solar, parking, and always ensuring the viability of a historic downtown. We should also not forget that we have gateways into Madison on the east and west end of Madison. I'm hopeful that we will make strides in keeping those gateways viable and, most importantly, safe. I'm also hopeful that we can keep young families and senior citizens in town. They make up our future and our past and add to the character of the town. Yes, I am hopeful for the future of Madison. The residents of this wonderful town never let you down. We are more than a town. We are a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dennis Schreiber.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Before I begin, I would like to extend my thanks to the Morris County League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event, and to the Thursday Morning Club for allowing us to use this wonderful, history-filled facility. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dennis Schreiber, and along with my wife, have been a resident of Madison for over 28 years. For most of our working lives, we were both commuters into the city. We're proud to call Madison our home. I worked in the financial services industry in both the banking and securities fields, mostly on the financial administration side of things. I'm a graduate of Colgate University with a BA in International Relations Political Science, and I also have an MBA from Thunderbird School of Global Management, now part of ASU. During my career, I had the opportunity to work in London twice and Frankfurt. In London, I established treasury departments and a chief admin office function in Frankfurt. I had hiring, firing, and team building responsibilities, and I negotiated multi-million-dollar complicated credit agreements with bankers from the US and Europe. I also sold banking services to US, European, and Middle Eastern financial institutions. But enough about me. Dr. Ron Hendrickson and I are here to talk about the future. We are newcomers and outsiders to local politics, no doubt about it. But we have spent a considerable amount of time attending Borough Council meetings this year, becoming familiar with the issues and challenges facing Madison. We've also spent a great deal of time getting to know what is important to our fellow residents concerning the town. We are listening and learning, and I've learned that there is a common theme emerging, a general feeling that the quality of life here is eroding. People are concerned about our historic downtown, empty storefronts, inattentive maintenance, overdevelopment, overcrowding, stress on the infrastructure, traffic, taxes, utility rates, and the school system all figure in, and also the impact of the welcoming community resolution. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a newcomer to local governance.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
And next up is Ronald.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this town council debate. Thank you for coming out. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, describe my qualifications and unique skills I would bring to the table at the public, as well as the closed-door Madison Town Council meetings, and describe many of the things that matter to us, many of us in Madison. My wife Jennifer and I moved to Madison in 2003 to raise our 4 children. We are from Seattle, we lived in Europe, and we selected to make Madison our hometown almost 15 years ago. Our oldest 2 recently graduated from Madison High School, and our younger 2 are close behind. We have thoroughly enjoyed our neighborhood in Madison, benefiting from the downtown community, the library, the recreational sports program, and the rich cultural exchange with the neighboring universities. Regarding my qualifications and specific skills I bring to the table, I am not a politician, and in today's climate, I think that's a good thing. I have a bachelor's degree in science or chemistry from the University of Washington and a PhD in chemistry from the University of Virginia. I was head of proteomics at Merck Research Labs, where I was responsible and accountable for a multi-million-dollar research budget. My budgeting skills are solid, and my leadership and complex problem-solving skills are strong. I work for Sloan Kettering in New York City. I collaborate with other experts from multiple disciplines in the fight to cure cancer. As a trained scientist, my work requires me to see the big picture as well as have a firm grasp on the details and uncover specifics that are important. I think the purpose of local government is to meet the needs of the local community. We have great services. I support those. Dennis and I have laid out a vision for the Madison Community STEM program, innovative ideas to revitalize our downtown, yet retain the character and open space that brought us to Madison in the first place. On the town council, I bring balance and transparency and ensure rigorous and thoughtful decisions that affect us all. So I respectfully ask for your vote on November 7th for the team of Hendrickson and Schreiber.
Thank you. Okay. All right. And John.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for again hosting this wonderful event. You know, people ask me, they say, why are you running for borough council? Well, rather they put it like, are you sure you want to do this? Not only do I think that being elected to the council is the logical next step for me after being involved in many boards, commissions, and committees, but it also provides the opportunity to serve all Madisonians equally. I think what people want is someone you can trust to always be prepared in advance of council meetings, to always execute liaison responsibilities, and who will always have the entire community interest in mind. This is one of the most beloved communities in New Jersey. That's what I'm told by 2/3 of the people we talk to as we canvass every single door in Madison. Yes, there are still improvements that can be made, but people tell us that it's wonderful. I will listen and hear what you say, what your needs are, and what you want. Within the parameters of the law, I will pursue solutions. My involvement exemplifies my willingness to be actively involved, get things done, help people, and not sit on the sidelines. I am a commissioner on the Downtown Development Commission, the DDC Secretary, chair of the Sign and Facade Committee, and a member of the Program Improvement Committee. I chair the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, and am a member of the Board of Education's Budget Advisory Committee. And am on the board of MASA, as well as a vice president of the Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition. I also am the chair of the ELK's Drug Enforcement Program. I participated in the operations portion of the Strategic Planning Initiative and was a member of the steering committee for the Downtown Economic Redevelopment. What does this all mean for you? I have the passion, commitment, energy, and initiative you can trust to always deliver for you and the community at large. I will be fair, unbiased, analytical, thoughtful, caring, and an independent decision maker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let us start the questions. So question one we're going to start with is, what kind of shared service arrangements does Madison have, and how do they help the community? The first person to answer that is John Hoover.
Madison has been consistently and actively involved in shared services. We have many evidences of that. One is with the school system. We do share services equally. They give to us and we give to them. We share IT services with other municipalities. We also share a joint court system. We have a joint municipal system for the sewers. And there are many others as well. Those are just some of the examples. What we want to do is broaden those and see if we can even find more opportunities to have shared services so that we can reduce cost and more effectively deliver services.
Okay. And Carmela.
Yes. Thank you. I think one of the greatest things that we have done with a very active administration is that the mayor and council has submitted to the administration that we were very interested in doing and sharing services. So we've been sharing services with the Board of Ed in a great many ways. This this is where they get their salt, this is where they get their gasoline, their mulch, whatever is needed. I think some of the greatest things that we've done, we are now currently in the construction office with Chatham Borough. We share that, as well as the joint sewer treatment with Chatham. And one of the, and I'd like to say that we continue to ask our administration to continually look for other towns and other shared services. John mentioned just a few. It's IT services, it's health department has services.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Dennis?
Well, as John and Carmella have both nicely pointed out.
You need to turn your mic.
I'll get used to this routine in a
Okay.
second.
Yep.
As John and Carmella have pointed out, we do have the shared court system with other towns. We do have IT. We do have the joint commission with Chatham and ourselves. I think we should look for more opportunities to share services, reduce costs, and make more efficient use of facilities. Thank you.
Okay. And Ronald?
So I think there's something that's embedded in the question, so I'll come back to in a minute. The high school is a great example of how the services are shared. In fact, my daughter goes to the high school with a friend of hers from Harding, so I think that's a great example of shared services. Embedded in the question, I think, is a way that we could reduce the cost basis of operating the town. So, and that's just a good way to keep our taxes down. So I think what we can do is we can look for other opportunities to share services with other municipalities or other ways to share that just to keep the cost down. But I think the key thing about Madison that I love, and I think as I speak to many of you in Madison, is that we have exceptional services. So we don't want to lose those services at the price of the cost.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Our welcoming resolution is designed to reassure our community of undocumented immigrants. What are the specific benefits and specific costs that accrue to Madison for maintaining or growing this community? And Ronald, do you answer that first, please?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and I think if we look back at the history of Madison, Madison has maybe a mixed history of welcoming. I think it's been very welcoming. When I've knocked on some doors, I was reminded that, in fact, the sports teams weren't welcoming certain people in the town until those athletes were actually better, and then they were welcomed onto the team. So I think in general, Madison has been incredibly welcoming. I think the welcoming resolution, though, I think is a bit controversial in town. Let me describe why. I walked down to one of the information meetings with my neighbor, and we came back from the meeting, I would say, somewhat divided because of the conversation that was going there. And I think we both had different concerns. One concern was the legal aspects of that, of whether or not it would affect the police to exercise their, to have the full tools available to them. And so I think that creates a little bit of confusion in town.
Okay, thank you. John?
Well, as you all know, I am a very, very strong supporter of the welcoming resolution and see many, many benefits to it with minimal cost, if any. The benefits are that it's going to be a safe community for all residents in Madison, both from an education perspective, from a health perspective, from a legal perspective. There are no restrictions against enforcing all of the laws of the federal government, the state government, and the local government. This is a really great resolution that affirms things that have been going on for 100 years in Madison. Okay, and it states plainly exactly who is welcome and why. And I fully support it ongoing.
Thank you. Okay, Carmella?
Thank you. As most of you probably know, I sit on a council that actually voted for this last February. It was not a vote without a lot of research and a lot of thought and a lot of feeling. But I came to a simple conclusion that sometimes we just have to be reminded about who our neighbors are and what our neighbors are. My grandparents were immigrants. I understand what they went through. I don't want to see that happen ever in this town. I've talked to young people who are fearful, and that is totally unacceptable. A couple weeks ago, we were very fortunate to meet probably about 20 people of Hispanic origin, and they sat and told us how they've been here for 20 years, 34 years, 27 years. These are the people that will be taken care of. We have always welcomed
Thank you. Okay, and Dennis.
The welcoming committee resolution, I will admit, caught me by surprise. And I attended the borough meeting, the council meeting where it was being passed. I thought the whole exercise was poorly executed and ill thought out, and it ultimately became divisive for the town. It's structured poorly as a resolution. Perhaps it should have been structured as an ordinance, but it has an expiration date of a year, according to our borough attorney, Jacoby. Madison has always been a welcoming town, to my knowledge. This building here stands in testimony of that. We've helped immigrants as they've come and entered the town and got them acclimated. But I think this sends the wrong signal. I think it was unnecessary, and I think it has put a big wedge, a divisive wedge, through the community.
Thank you.
Should we get a rebuttal?
Yep, I'm getting there. Okay, each candidate gets a 30-second rebuttal, and essentially in the order. So we'll start with Ronald.
So this is a complex concept, so I'm going to go quickly on one or two concepts, and if you'd like, we can discuss this later. I think Madison's always been welcoming. The concern here is whether it's going to become a sanctuary city resolution, and in fact, the NJDAC resolution or directive that is at play here might be overturned if a new governor gets elected to the state. So if Murphy gets elected, he's stated very publicly that this will become a sanctuary
Thank
state.
You. Okay, rebuttal. Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay, John.
Please forgive me, but I don't see this as a complex resolution at all. I think it's very, very simple. It affirms what we are, what we have been, and clarifies the legal implications that the police can exercise. And it provides people who are here with an ability to say, I see a crime over there without fear of them being accused of anything. I see a crime over there so that the police can take care of it. Right now, a lot of people are fearful. Okay, they're very much afraid. Part of it is because of this divisiveness that has been created.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah,
Go right ahead.
no, go right ahead.
Carmel? Okay, we'll go down the line. Sounds good.
I appreciate John's view on this, and it's one that I thought about quite a bit. But I think it is a divisive instrument. It makes you wonder, really, what was the motivation behind it? And I think, and I was at the council meeting, to a person, with the exception of Pat Rowe, I think it was some political grandstanding. They had to send a message to Washington. All of a sudden, they threw us into national
Thank you.
politics.
Okay, and Carmela?
I'm going to rebut that last statement. I do not grandstand. I live here. I was born and raised here, and I don't grandstand. I have used my influence on the council to do the right thing, to do the ethical thing. And as I said before, this was done in great thought. I firmly believe that all of us should live together in peace and harmony. And sometimes, like I said before, we need to be reminded.
Okay. I will say that many communities are struggling with this, and that this is just my observation. Okay, next question, totally different topic. What has Madison done to make our electric rates competitive? Dennis.
Nothing. I'll say it again because I didn't have the microphone. There's been a lot, and this has been a historic conversation and debate that's gone on in the town for years, probably as long as Sue and I have lived here, possibly longer. The utility rates are high, and they're higher than neighboring towns. And they're used as a way of subsidizing the surplus and the capital and operating budgets here in town. What you don't get told is that it is a subsidization of the budget, and the Democrats claim that they do a wonderful job of keeping tax increases down to a minimum, and that's certainly true. But what you're not told is that you're paying over market prices for your electrical rates. You will be able to start to figure that out now that you'll be getting a revised bill pretty soon, but you still really don't have a clue, and then you get a dividend back.
Okay. And Ronald?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, if I can find it. Hold on. What has Madison done to make our electric rates competitive? That was the question.
And if I go short, can I bank that time and use it for a different question?
You cannot.
They've done
You
nothing.
can try, but not.
They've done nothing.
Okay. John?
The borough administration has worked very hard to shop and contract for the cost of providing electricity to all of us over the years. We have a long-term contract for a very, very inexpensive rate. This year we have the utility costs in Madison have been reduced from $172 per kilowatt hour to $159 per kilowatt hour. That's a 7% reduction. Okay, and that's compared to the other towns that have a similar structure to our utility. All right, so to say that, somebody once said that like it was like 40% or something like that. It's actually only like 8%. Okay, and when you look at the utility rates in total, we're only about a 1% difference. So the utility rates are very competitive. We provide incredible services for those utilities costs. And
Thank you. And John?
you just had.
I'm sorry. Okay. Carmela, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Carmela, electric.
I've been listening to conversations regarding the electric rates for nigh on 10 years, I guess, or whatever. We were in a very bad situation with a bad contract that increased our electric rates. Well, once we got out of that contract, we got very smart. We elected to have Jim Burnett get involved with the buying of electricity, okay? So we have been buying electricity at very low cost. Now, one of the most important things that you have to remember, at this point in 2017, per kilowatt, like John said, you're going to be paying $159.94. JCP&L is at $120.10. We're not very far from that base bill, okay? What we do with the surplus and what we do with other...
Thank you. Okay. Next question.
2 minutes.
Can I have a
Not long
rebuttal?
time, is it?
Can I have a rebuttal?
I know it.
Okay, you want to rebut
I would like
this?
to rebut.
Okay, rebuttal person one
So
is Dennis.
let's be clear on this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Dennis goes first to rebut.
Oh, okay.
Can I borrow your time, Dennis? No, go
Okay,
ahead.
wait. There's another aspect to this as well that we need to consider, and that is the 7.5% dividend that we get back. And to my knowledge, we are not shareholders in an entity that issued common stock, so it's by definition not a dividend. It should be really called a rate cut, but they're afraid to call it a rate cut, and I don't know why. Why don't we just bring the utility rates in line with where they should be, rather than keep them artificially high? What happens
Thank you.
when we have a next
Okay.
energy crisis?
Ronald?
Yeah, so I just want to point out that there was a huge financial crisis and energy prices plummeted. So we were paying $4 a gallon for gasoline. It dropped about $1.80 or something. So John, if you're still paying $4 a gallon for gasoline, you might want to pay $1.80 a different place. It dropped. So what happened was Madison hedged the market. They bought 5-year contracts and they locked in at a long rate. They couldn't lower it because they were locked in for 5 years. Now we have another 5-year contract and we got good rates. That's the issue.
Okay. And John?
I don't think I want to comment anymore. That's enough of that.
Okay. And Carmela?
Well, I've never turned down an opportunity to speak. I'll tell you. The dividend, or you want to say rate decrease, whatever the name is, we had an excess of surplus. And we decided to do what we thought was the most important thing to do, was to give it back to the residents of this town. So we called it a dividend. We offered it to every single electric resident.
Thank you. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
The 30 seconds goes fast.
It does. Next topic. Okay. What are the plans for the, I think it's community or it says comedy. COMMONITY.
No, it's a community.
Yeah, community space at the new Green Village Road School development. And Carmela, you go first on that.
One of the great things that we got from the KRE property was 3,000 square feet that is going to be used as community space. We're going to have some outdoor theater as well. And the problem comes up is who will be used in that space. I've heard probably 100 organizations in this town that say, please, we need the space. But as a reminder, I want to make sure that various groups use this, and it is indeed a community space. It's just not down to one particular organization using it. The way it's set up, it could be a theater, it could be an art center, it could be the farmer's market, it could be a great many things. And that's what we have to do, is we have to share that community space. So we're grateful to KRE for offering it to us, and I think it's going to help. You have a...
Thank you. Okay, and Dennis? Community space at the new Green Village Road School development.
Right.
Gotcha.
I think it's great to have that facility coming online to be available for us. It gives us another alternative venue for things that can be done. Group gatherings, lectures, you name it. But we need to be a little careful about it, because if I understand correctly, and I went to a presentation, we're going to lease it from the builder for $1 a year, which is great, but we are to assume all the maintenance and renovation costs. That will ultimately become costly as the facility goes through its normal wear and tear. It's something that we'll have to plan for in the future in terms of how to pay for it and exactly just what will need to be done. But generally speaking, I think it's a nice thing to have. It's a nice option to be available for the town.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ronald?
So Dennis, thanks for that introduction. I think it's a great space. Again, it's $1 a year for 30 years. And so it's a shelled out space, so maybe a little bit like this. So if you want to make this into a movie theater, you'd have to make it into a movie theater. You have to buy chairs and a projector, and you'd have to get drapes for the walls and stuff. So whoever's going to do that will have to pay for that. So I think as we think about who gets to use that space and move into it, we're going to have to think also about those costs.
Okay, and John?
Well, I think it was referred to that there was a presentation made at the Borough Council, and it's online at Rosenet, and you could see what the concept is for it. I think it's a great idea. I agree with Carmela that we need to have more people involved in defining what it's going to be used for. But it's really a great space, and for $1 a year for 30 years and paying the maintenance, I think we can figure a way to do that, and a way to prevent from being ruined, in the meantime. But it's a really great space. It's a great concept. Thank God we have another alternative. It could be a little small movie theater, could be in there. You could have arts and all kinds of good things, lectures, whatever. I agree with my friend on my left. I think it's a great idea to have, and I think we ought to go forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Rebuttal to that? No, we're good? Okay. Okay, next question. John, you're going to start with this. Do you agree with fair housing that Madison should add 1,000 affordable units in the next 8 to 10 years? John?
I hear you. Excuse me. Everybody gets 10 seconds to think.
Yeah. No. I didn't know.
Please forgive
Definitely.
me. Please forgive me, but I don't know whether 1,000 is realistic or not. I just don't know. This problem of affordable housing and what I like to classify as equitable housing, more importantly, that's for all classes of people, is something that I think needs to be talked about. There was a big fuss about it a couple of years ago. It went to the courts. We sued like everybody else against Co. It went to the courts. The courts have now said it's on hold. They're not making any decisions. So whether 1,000 or 10, or I don't know. I don't know what it should be. But the new dwellings that are going up will have some minimum set of affordable housing included. Okay, so I think it's just something that needs to be looked at over time, and we can't comment on it beyond that. To tell you the truth, because it's a legal thing that's on hold.
Okay, Carmela.
Well, I have to start off by saying that as a sitting council member, because we were in litigation, I am bound not to talk about this type of litigation.
Okay, that's
but
fine.
I want to make one.
Okay, sure, yeah.
But be advised that I did vote to allow our attorneys to bring us into this litigation and to fight it.
Okay. All righty. Dennis?
As I understand it, Madison's done a great job in making its commitments to affordable housing over the years. But this latest go-round over the last couple of years, I think from what I know and what I've read, it calls for somewhere, I've seen numbers bandied around between 700 to 1,000 additional new facilities, which I'm glad we've joined the lawsuit because I think that's a ridiculously unsustainable number, which will just really change the nature of the town. Talk about how much we value open space. Well, I just wonder if the ruling comes down that we have to commit to that number of homes, where are they going to be situated?
Okay, and Ronald?
I think John did a great job teeing up that question. And I like the idea of equitable housing. And I think as my children go to the public schools, I do want the schools to have economic diversity. And I think that it really brings a lot of richness to the town. So I think it's an important thing for us to have here in Madison.
Okay, thank you. Rebuttal? Yep, sure,
Okay.
go.
I just wanted to share with you that it is projected that by the year 2021, within a 5-mile radius of Madison, we're going to have 5,400 new residents. 5,400 new residents. And we may have to have 506 new units in the near term. So the building is continuing to go on. We need to keep looking at equitable housing and affordable housing and decide what is the appropriate thing that we're going to do. Because you're right, space is at a premium in Madison. Okay, it just is. Especially with tear downs and mansions being built.
Anyone else want to rebut? We're good? Okay. All right, next question. We're going to start with Ronald. What is your position on the parking issue in Madison, and what solutions do you propose?
10 seconds, right, to think?
Yeah, definitely.
So Madison has a parking problem. And regardless if the Urbanomics report says there isn't, there is a parking problem. In fact, nobody in Madison can park in the street over 4 hours. So they've restricted you to park less than 4 hours. Other parts, it's even more acute. Some places you can't even park for more than an hour. And so if you look in front of the movie theater, it's 1 hour parking. So just think about that. If I want to go to a movie and I can only park 1 hour in front of it, probably not do that. Some things that we want to do in downtown is we might want to do 2 things, like go to dinner and, go shopping, right? So if you only have an hour parking, it kind of limits what you can do.
Okay. John?
I was standing at the farmers market this afternoon at the Cook Street, and and somebody stopped their car and they said, "Are you running for council?" I said, "Yes, my name is John Hoover. How can I help you?" And he said, "We have a parking problem in Madison, and I want you to fix it. I want you to go out and fix it." And he said, "I have a plan to do that." And I said, "Well, can I see the plan, please?" Because I started talking about the studies that were done. He said, "Listen, there were 3 studies done, and nothing's been done," which is not true. Every one of those studies, and Carmela can tell you this, there has been some resulting improvements. There is a parking problem. I think my personal opinion is what we need to do is enforce what exists already and see if that works and see where the deficiencies are. We have a lot of the store owners and their employees parking in the Cook Avenue lot. There's a lot of spaces in there. If we got rid of those spaces and move them somewhere else, maybe we could put more people in the Cook Avenue lot that are going to shop and eat. Okay, so we need to think about all of that and then decide what to do with parking. When we get the downtown business manager, that's one of the top priorities to look at.
Thank you. Okay. And Carmela?
Thank you. Parking has always been one problem or another over the years. John is absolutely right. I can think off the top of my head of at least 10 parking studies that were done, either by a Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Development Commission, mayor and council. But it's not an easy thing to implement. So, one of the things that we have considered is a parking garage. Well, where does that garage go? So that is a difficult question. Because of the exorbitant cost of $25,000 per space, we thought, well, we'll look to an investor who may want to build that garage, retain it, maintain it, and whatever. But the problem is ensued that you're going to be paying a lot more money for permits to park in that particular garage.
Thank you. Okay, Dennis?
All those studies, and we're still talking about a parking problem. And I bet 20 years from now we will still be discussing the same things. My view is we obviously do have a problem. The nature of shopping downtown has changed, I think, too. People are no longer coming down to pick something up and then moving on. But they're coming down to go to a restaurant, or they're going down to a salon, or they're going down to one of the new exercise places that have opened up. And these are no longer quick stops, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. These are a couple of hours. So you do have a parking problem and parking congestion. I think 2 things. One, ultimately a garage is in our future, and I think it can be done tastefully. 1 floor subterranean, 2nd floor above ground. Where it's situated is open for debate. And then secondly, the employers and their employees are being asked to park even further away from where they park now. That's in the downtown study.
Thank you. Okay, rebuttal in the parking world. Go ahead.
I want to build on what Dennis just said, because that's one solution, is to build a parking garage, and the dividend or rebate for electric utility could have paid for that. The other thing could happen is what other towns have done is if parking is priced properly, there's no limitation. So a small amount of money, I know this is controversial, but it's an idea you have to think about, just be open-minded. Small amount of money, and it goes back to those particular businesses in that particular neighborhood. It doesn't go back into the town coffer, but it goes into those core businesses to repair the sidewalks, or perhaps put streetlights in.
Okay, John, do you want to rebut?
Yes, I would if I could just add a couple of things.
Okay.
Appreciate what everybody's been saying about parking. One of the things I've noticed is that for all of like GVR and whatever's going to happen to the theater and blah, blah, blah like that, they're putting parking underground. They're doing subterranean parking. So that's going to take a lot of pressure off the street parking, okay? And if they keep doing that, that's exactly one of the things that should happen. I think there are other opportunities. We've got to wait until we get this downtown business manager in place and take a look at all the recommendations and the ideas that we have in the reports.
Thank you. Okay, and Carmela, would you like to rebut?
This is a very complicated situation, parking. About 3 years ago, Drew University had a forum, and we talked about parking and what was wrong and whatever. And one of the things that came out of it in big block letters on the easel was, we don't have a parking problem, we have a walking problem. Which kind of made me stop and think, okay, let's take a look at what is actually happening in downtown Madison.
Thanks. Okay. All right, Dennis?
I'm going to try to quickly
Park
resume where I left off.
Okay.
In the downtown study, it calls for the employers and employees to park even further away than where they currently park now. That's a great idea, except it's one way of really turning people off to open a business here in Madison. It doesn't make it an attractive, inviting place for a business owner to come in and set up shop.
Okay. All right. Okay, next question. What parts of the recent urbanomics study do you agree with and or disagree with? Dennis, you're first.
The parking. But not to beat a dead horse. I think there was a lot of good in that study. My criticism, which has been in the papers and on posts, is that a lot of the suggestions were already known to us through previous studies done going back to the 80s. So I don't think there's anything terribly earth-shaking in there. It just makes me question what's taken so long to get around to putting some of the recommendations into place. A downtown manager is something so glaringly obvious that why we're finally now just getting around to hiring one has me scratching my head. Lighting, signage, just general maintenance of the downtown, lighting, paving, the pavers, all those are great recommendations. But what's taken us so long to get to this point? Somewhere along the line, we're finally getting motivated, but these have been known to us for years.
Okay. And Ronald, you're up next. Urbanomics.
You're asking, the question is, what do we not like?
It says, this is the question. What parts of the recent urbanomics study do you agree with and or disagree with?
In a minute. Okay. So,
well, there's a rebuttal.
Okay, so there's a lot in there, and I've read it from cover to cover. I just want to point out that the parking study was done on December 7th and December 10th. So you want to think about how that reflects the overall parking in Madison. So that's just a point. But there is one thing I want to raise for everyone here in Madison to think about. The study, embraced by John and Carmela, recommends making the buildings in Madison not 3 stories but 4 stories. Very similar to the GVR development, and they recommend to do that to incent developers to come in and build big buildings. So that concerns me. I think there's ways that we could preserve the character of the downtown that we have today. And if you'd like, we could talk about that.
Okay. John.
Well, I like the idea of hiring the downtown manager. I think that's critical. Yes, it could appear that it's taken a long time to get stuff done. But let's put that behind us if we can and move forward. I'd like to be a future thinker and make things happen. We get this downtown development manager on board, I'm telling you, you can see things happening quickly. We have already been doing things. Water fountains, benches, lighting, LED lighting. There's been a lot of things done already. Okay, we just need to keep moving forward on it. I like the marketing and branding. I like the fact that we're going to take a look at some of the zoning regulations, see if we can make it easier for business to open downtown. You know, like we already have, just passed one recently. So, and I think the parking needs to be looked at, but, you know, and those are the ones that I like. I really do. You know, and there's not many that I don't like that are in there, to tell you the truth. I'd have to get into depth to tell you that. But, I mean.
Okay. And Carmela.
Thank you. Okay, the one thing that I have always felt was absolutely necessary, and in the past we've had part-time managers. This person will not be called a downtown manager. That person will be called a director, because we have to encompass not only the downtown, but as I spoke earlier, the East End and the West End. We need to bring all of that conclusively together to make sure that that all of it looks well. That is my My feeling is that's probably one of the best things. One of the items was 500 housing units in the center of town. Can't see it. We have historic buildings. I don't know that, and I would never recommend on those historic buildings that there be another floor put. But, we're taking our time. The first important thing.
Thank you. Okay, rebuttal? Okay.
I just want to point one thing that I do disagree with.
Is this your rebuttal?
And it's the Rose City. I think we should keep the Rose City as the name.
Okay. Anyone else? Good? Okay. We all set? Everyone all right? Okay. All right, next question. Hi. I'm interested in hearing about each candidate's volunteer work prior to running for council and how this service informs your current run. Okay, we thought we'd give this a shot. Carmela, you're up first. So this person wants to hear about your volunteer service.
I probably started my volunteer service in Madison in a PTA. And anybody who's been involved with PTA and their children know that it's the first way that you get involved. Because once they see that volunteer on your forehead, it's all over. And I worked on a lot of committees, and I was able to start understanding what was going on in Madison. From there, I kind of progressed into being very active. I was chair of the Downtown Development Commission. I preceded John on the 5-year the Senior Citizens Action Commission. I was on planning board. I'm trying to think what I have been on. I feel like I've been on probably every type of committee. This year as liaison to public works.
Thanks. Okay, and Ronald?
Yeah, so I'll just limit it to what I've done, volunteered on since being in Madison. I was on 2 boards, not-for-profit boards. I also was a coach for a soccer team when the other coach got stuck because of re-entering the country. And so I picked that up, and I thoroughly loved it, actually. One of the best things I've done. And I also have a passion for people in underprivileged areas. And so I led a team of 3 other people into Newark to try to teach at a middle school. And that was an eye-opening experience. And it was just to reach people, to try to open their eyes to a different way of life and as a way of education to pull them out of it.
Okay. John?
Well, in my opening 2 minutes, I read a litany of things that I've been involved in. Before that, I was, when I lived in San Francisco, I was a child abuse prevention counselor and graduated to chair the Child Services Committee in San Francisco for about 5 years. And I also am volunteer with the Market Street Mission as a driver of people to get them to their court appointments. What's valuable about volunteering in all the things in Madison is that you get to see people and you get to see how the committees work and how the government works, which is just incredibly important and valuable to me. And plus I get the personal satisfaction of being able to give to people and to make things better for them. Okay, and that's what I really like about all of it. Okay, so that's it.
Okay. Rebuttal to that? I don't think so.
Well,
you do?
I'm not going to make a rebuttal, but I just...
My answer is going to be short. Volunteerism is great, and I wish during the working career I had more opportunity to become a volunteer. But as a commuter, I was out the door 5:45 and home at 8 at night. However, since I've gotten my health stabilized and I've gotten a pretty good idea of what I'm capable of doing, I have been a volunteer at my parish's soup kitchen efforts in Morristown, and I've been a financial supporter of a lot of the fundraising that they've done for charitable organizations, and I've also been supportive of a women's group up in up in Ramsey. So I have not had a lot of direct involvement other than until recently at the soup kitchen, but I have provided some financial support to a lot of charitable organizations.
Now, rebuttal.
Sorry. One of the things I want to make a reference to is service and volunteering is probably one of the greatest things that you could do for yourself as well as the town. Being born and raised here, I understood the value of what this town actually was. And I wanted to make sure that I was involved so that I knew what was going on. And over the course of years, I was been very lucky to be put on boards, and I was vice president. Oh, wow, that was fast.
Okay. All right. Okay. What are the various components of our property taxes in Madison, and what do we get for them? So I guess just if you can just break it down. So, John?
Sure. Well, as you may know from looking at the budget summary that has been published, okay? Budget summary that's been published. 61.7% of the property taxes are for school, the educational system. The county is 15.8%, and the municipal budget is 22.5%. County has gone up 12.7% over the last 4 years. Schools have gone up 10.4%, and Madison has gone up about 2%. We're going up about 1.5% this year. Okay? The services we get are incredible. You get garbage and recycling pickup, yard waste and fall leaf. You get road plowing and maintenance, recreation and parks, senior citizen services, police department, fire department, health department, all kinds of capital and infrastructure like buildings and large apparatus for the fire department and the police department. So there's a lot of things you get for the amount of money we pay in the municipal taxes.
Okay. Carmela?
As you could see, we're probably all sitting here with this document. This is probably one of the best documents that I've seen in the years that I've been sitting on council. Jim Burnett made this up last year, and every single one of your electric bills, hopefully you people all got it. It's a very simple explanation of where your taxes go and how they are used. So, if you don't have one, let us know, because this is absolutely great. One of the best things is how we compare to our neighbors. In my real life, I'm in real estate, so I go into many towns and many counties, and I see a major difference in what those people are getting. Our neighbor next door in Florham Park they are paying for their own for leaf pickup, garbage. There's sewer system and water is all separate.
Thanks. Okay, and Dennis? It's good.
This document has always been informative, and I think it's a good thing to have. But I also think you ought to realize that it's a good thing to have the utility surplus, and I don't necessarily mean that in a good way. Taxes have been held down over the years, and it's a commendable job that the borough has done. But it's come through largely the surplus transfers from the utilities to the operating and the capital budgets. So my point of view in all of this is that I'd like to see a proper alignment of revenues and expenses in a budget so you can actually see what you're being charged and what you're getting and what you're paying for. This is very informative, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
Okay, and Ronald?
So great discussion so far, and I agree with Dennis that probably the most appropriate comparator might not be our neighbors, because our neighbors actually don't have a public utility where the residents are required by law to buy electricity from that local utility, but maybe the other towns in New Jersey that have their own utility would be a really good comparator. I agree that it's a great summary that Jim Burnett and the team there put together. I do want to also add that I think one thing that we could add back now that we're a little bit more flush with cash is I really liked it when the garbage was picked up twice a day. It just kind of smelled a little better in the garages and things. So, or twice a week. I'm sorry. Yeah, twice a week. Thanks, John. Twice a week. Here you go. Thank you, John.
Okay, any rebuttals to that? Okay,
Can I
Go ahead,
speak
yeah.
again? Okay. Also on this document, the point has been brought up about the surplus and what we actually do with the surplus. I'm going to read this because it's a lot easier. 1.883 million for reconstruction of Lathrop, Howell, Locust, Tracy, Valview, Gibbons, Park Lane, and Central Avenue. 1.13 million for road improvements, including repaving of Kings Road, Fairwood, Maple, Redmond, Oxford, Prospect Place, Britton, Lorraine.
That's it. Anyone else? Okay. All right, we're just about finished. I have basically 2 more questions. We're going to start out, let me see. 1, 4, 2, 3. Okay. Name 3 things you've learned talking to Madison voters during the campaign season. I'm going to start with Ronald. 3 things. Your top 3.
I had a great discussion with a resident who moved here from Westfield. And she was describing to me Westfield's development downtown and where Westfield was very similar to Madison today. And think about where Westfield is, well, now. So Westfield used to have the character of downtown Madison in the past and now has a new character. And she was lamenting the fact of that, and that's the reason she moved here. So that was one thing I learned that I thought we should all probably think about. The other thing, a couple of things I've learned. We have great people in Madison. Great people. I think this has been the best opportunity to knock on people's door and ask them what matters to them. I really, really enjoy doing that.
Okay. John?
Yeah, we have, Carmela and I have knocked on every single door in Madison. We've done 12 and a half districts. We've got a district and a half to go. And 50% of the people are not home. Of the other 50% that are home, 2/3 of those say Madison is a wonderful, wonderful community. That's number one. They say it's a wonderful community. A couple of the other things that they do talk to us about when they talk to us is traffic, coming from, particularly from down on Park Avenue, and all the construction that's going on. Parking, okay, it seems to be an issue with people, okay, and taxes. The taxes are very high, and some people, particularly those on fixed income, are thinking about leaving the community, and that bothers me a lot. I don't want to see anybody leave the community. I want to see more people come in, and we see more and more younger people in the community moving in. I mean, when we go around and talk, there's a lot of young people coming in with kids, so it's all good in most cases. Okay, so those are the things that I see.
Okay. Carmela?
I have to agree with John. We've learned a great deal talking to so many people, and people are concerned about the traffic on Park Avenue as we are. They're concerned about the parking downtown. They're concerned about the schools, which we unfortunately have no control over. They're concerned about keeping the downtown viable, which is a very, very important project for both John and I. They're concerned about overbuilding, and then we have concerns about the sidewalks and the trees. One of the things that we've been doing is noting this, and we carry around with us notations of what people are actually saying. Our plan is to bring those to the departments, and I talk about that in my closing statement, to have those taken care of. The simple things first. So,
Thanks. Okay, Dennis?
I've learned a couple of things in my campaigning this year. One, something was confirmed to me, and that is just how wonderful the residents of this town are, and how involved and how plugged in they are to what's going on in the town, in the community. And that was nice to have confirmed to me. Beyond that, Similar topics, similar issues. Overdevelopment concerned people quite a bit. Traffic, certainly. And the overwhelming theme of somehow the character of the town seems to be changing ever so slightly, whether it's because of just the sheer size of the Green Village Road development and a fear that more of the same is coming down the pike. The concern about the increased traffic coming in from Park Avenue along with the development that's taking place in Florham Park is a big issue for folks. And then it comes down to taxes and utilities. Thank you.
Okay. I think, do we need rebuttal? We're good? Okay. We're going to have our closing statements now, and we're going to go with John first.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for your thoughtful questions. And again, thanks to the League of Women Voters for again hosting this forum. If I am fortunate enough to be elected, my focus will be primarily on issues and programs that benefit the entire community. A full, robust, attractive, and useful downtown for residents, visitors, owners, and merchants with appropriate branding and marketing needs to be one of the highest priorities we have. Equitable housing, preservation of our historic identity, mental health awareness and treatment, a rational and pervasive approach to substance abuse prevention and treatment are essential foundations for a healthy community. We need to find ways to increase non-tax revenue and reduce even further municipal expenses by expanding shared services, both intra-borough and inter-municipality. I will work to ensure we all work together on the council to seek agreeable ways to meet common needs and goals. Net, we need to be more thoughtful, more analytical, better prepared, more creative, and more cooperative. The focus needs to be on efficiency, productivity, quality, improved responsiveness to community needs across the board, and better staffing and project management, and increased communication and transparency. Please vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Okay. And, okay, next up is Ronald.
So I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters, and I thank you for coming out tonight. I think it's been a great evening. I'm actually going to change my closing statement here. There's actually two things I'd like to talk about, and that's vision for the future. And two things I think we can do in particular. One, for the downtown community, I think there's things that we could do. And if you know, if the history of the town is that in 1930, when the Dodges lost their son in a car accident, he was a student in Princeton, and he died. They had the town put the utilities underground. They said, look, we'll build you a train station, we'll build you a building, but you have to put those utilities underground. At least that's what I've been told. If that's not correct, I would invite someone to correct me after the statement. But if you look around town, there's a fiber optic nearly on every pole, but where it's underground, you don't have high-speed, high-capacity internet. And so one vision I have for the downtown is to invite those kind of businesses that will revitalize it. And there's a company I want you to look at. It's called Audible.com, and they set this company up in Newark because on a direct train line to Broadway, where they could bring beautiful voices to record books and build that building, that business inside of Newark. So that's one thing. And the second thing I'd like to talk about is a STEM community. I heard that we can't help the schools, but I'd push back on that. I think education occurs in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And what I would like to do, and Dennis, as part of this STEM community, is engage the library, engage the local universities, and invite experts to come in and teach our young and older people, myself included, about these new technologies so they can be exposed to that in a way that supplements what they're learning in the classroom. So those are two things I want to talk about in vision, and then ask you to vote. So you have 4 candidates here to choose from. I ask you to think about what 2 candidates would best represent your views to build Madison and build a better future. So I invite you to vote for the team of Schreiber and Hendrickson on November 7th.
And Carmela.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the League for all their work putting this forum together. As I'm sitting here tonight, I'm thinking that we probably should have said thank you very much to the Thursday Morning Club for allowing us to use this space. If people don't know about this great club and these wonderful women who do so much work, There are 60,000 people that pass through these doors on a yearly basis, and they're all welcome as we were tonight. So thank you, and thank you to everyone who took the time out to come tonight and listen to our debate. Both John and I have canvassed since mid-July and have had the opportunity to meet with old friends, new residents, who were willing to share their concerns with us. Our commitment was to knock on every door regardless of political affiliation. We took those concerns seriously and we wrote them down, and we will make sure that they will be shared with the appropriate departments at the borough to continue to improve our services to the residents. Although the concerns ranged from taxes to downtown to traffic, it was gratifying to note that most residents were happy to live here and they loved Madison. I was fortunate to be born here and raised for most of my life in Madison. My mother and her 10 siblings were born and raised here. So I have a deep vested interest in keeping this a great town. I have had the privilege to serve the residents of this town and be involved with committees, boards, and learned a variety of views to appreciate the expertise of many wonderful volunteers. I learned a great deal volunteering. As I stated in my opening remarks, we have exciting times ahead of us, and I would like to continue to be part of keeping new innovations and a deep respect for the history of the Rose City, the best small town in America.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Before we finish, I have a question. I'm sorry? No, I know that, but I want to ask this before you go. What is the schedule of viewing for the tape that you're making? Because I don't want anyone to leave until we have that announced.
I don't know, it's really hard to just film it.
Okay. Is this going on a public access channel?
It was,
Do you have a schedule of the public access channel? No.
He does it every year for Madison. I would think they would know it more than I do. He just puts it up.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
This has been a big issue in every place, and people have wanted them to appear as YouTubes. Okay.
Certainly going on YouTube.
Yeah.
Certainly for sure.
It is for sure. Okay. Good.
We can make the recommendation to go on rosenet.org, which is very easy for people. That's
Okay.
where our council meeting.
That's what I want to get.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. I want to do that before people leave, though, because that's been a big issue. I've gotten a zillion phone calls about it. Like, way too many. Okay, I'm sorry. So now, sir, you are good to go.
Don't start the clock yet.
10 seconds.
Again, a final thank you to all of you for joining us here tonight, and I hope it was informative. And now you have a better idea of what we're all about and what we represent and what we stand for and what we think about the issues and challenges facing Madison. I'd like to just revert back to what I didn't say at the beginning, is that I'm a fiscal conservative. I think that came through. I've been a financial executive for most of my working career, and I would bring that discipline to the job of being a council member. I think we've got interesting and challenging times here in town, and I wanted to get involved because I noticed that things were changing over the last couple of years, and my wife kept telling me, well, that's Amazon. Everyone wants to go shop online. They don't want to go downtown any longer. And I thought, well, there's something that we can do about that. That can be challenged, and that can be challenged through hard, insightful, bright, fresh, and innovative thinking. Ron and I are newcomers, obviously, and we are fresher faces. We can add a balance to the council right now and bring some ballast and some questioning and some examination of the direction in which the council is going and how the decisions are made. Right now, it's a majority Democrat with one Republican on the council, and everyone seems to vote in unison in all the same way on all the topics. It's time to bring some balance and some questioning and some analytical review of what is going on in this town, and I feel that Ron and I can bring that to it. I'm optimistic for the future here because I think there's a lot of opportunities that we can explore. We can revitalize downtown. We can work with the businesses to shuttle folks in from the office buildings, bring them down for lunch because there's no parking, as we know. We can solve the parking problem, put up a garage. And
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for coming. I will remind you that probably most of you in here will vote, or you wouldn't be here. 90% of the people that are eligible to register to vote within the town in which I live, New Providence, are registered to vote. The biggest issue that we face is the fact that people don't go out and exercise their vote. And I would implore you to go and vote on Election Day. I would implore you to bring someone with you to the polls. Because what's going to happen if you don't do that is that big money will start to take over. You have an opportunity to have a voice, use your voice, and vote. That's it. I'm done.